Hello everyone. Today's the end of our tutorials where we're going to put everything together into one project. I'm going to go through this without a script, so I'll apologize in advance if I'm stumbling or figuring my way around here. But I decided that if we run across problems on the way, you're going to see about how I go about debugging and problem solving, and maybe that would be useful. So I'll try to shoot this in live mode, but may pause here and there so you don't have to sit through a compile or a particularly long process, slow process. So I'm going to start with a few assets for my demo as well. You don't need to watch me kind of manipulate an image editor to get the pictures and the things that I want, but I will show you those live and how we get those into the sim. When we're done, I'll put all of the code and the assets and scripts and everything on GitHub. So if you want, you can try it yourself, or you can at least just kind of browse through the code and see what we're doing. Maybe adapt it for your own hardware, or if you have this same little device that I'll leave up in the corner here so you can see what's going on, you can try it on yours. I'm also going to use a couple scripts that I've written previously to make a few things easier, copying files and making header files and whatnot. Those will be in the repo as well if you want to inspect them or use them with your own projects. So today we'll run end to end on this. I know that in part 5 I walked through some of this a little bit more slowly. I'm going to go through we're going to use the same demo project again. It's going to be a flap mod. And we'll go through the entire thing here. We'll check the SimVars. We'll find the reference data for our hardware, especially our display. We'll grab some reference data and images so that we can properly configure all the graphics. We'll go through the template baseline mods in fast mode here, since we've described them in the prior two videos. We'll add some initial logic and start testing that in MobiFlight. We'll complete the logic, and then we'll do some final in-sim testing. I've got 2020 running back here right now because the first thing that I always do is take a look and make sure that I understand the SimVars that we're going to use. So like I said, this is 2020, but it doesn't really matter. Since we're going after this flaps lever, let's get down here and get a better look at that. So we're going to go after this guy right here, and we can see that, okay, we can move this thing, we can slide it into detents, and that's moving. We also notice that up, which I assume is 0, 10, 20, and I believe full is 30 on here. I also see that these aren't linear, and I'm not sure if the device moves linearly or not, but let's take a look. So we could do this in MobiFlight. I prefer to use the SimVar Watcher, which is available in the dev tools, or at least the source code is, and you can compile it using a free version of Visual Studio. It may be available online as an exe, but you just start up SimVar Watcher, you connect, and then I just like it because it's usually a little bit faster here. So we're going to take a look at some of the different flap. And what I'm zeroing in on, we've got a flap handle. I think I'm going to add an indicator and the handle here. We'll just start with the indicator though. And so most of our stuff has trailing edge flaps, and there isn't a single one here. So I think we'll just use a left. And I'm not sure what the difference between angle, index, and percent is. I can guess, but better than guess, let's add these. And I prefer to work in degrees. So we can add that here. We'll add the index, which is just a number. We'll add that, and percent. Let's add that in there as a percent, and there's suggesting percent over 100. We're all the way up here. So let's see. Let's make sure that these are working. Rather than, let's see. I think I can use my joystick here to move it. Maybe. There we go. That's down. Ooh, look at that. Okay, so now we're seeing some angles change. So I guess right away we noticed that dot didn't move all the way down to 10. It just moved part way. And the index is 1. Let's try again. We're at 20% now. And notice that it doesn't line up actually with this 20. That's interesting. It almost feels like the lever's on 10, but I think that's 20 because it says flap index 20, and it's at the second position. and the percentage is 2/3 of the way down. Now we're all the way down at flaps 30, and that registers full. So it looks like this scale doesn't actually match up. Let's take that up again. I guess the other thing I'm noticing too is this moves smoothly. It doesn't jump. So we see that it actually goes up by fractions. So that'll be nice. So we'll get a nice animation there. I think that we will use well, you know what? The percent probably makes the most sense in case we want to use this on another well, you know what? We're only going to I'm going to decide that we're only going to do this for the 172, just because I think we'll use the image here that is more locked in with the 172. And so that means that we're going to go between 0 and 30. We'll go between 0 and 30, and we'll use this trailing edge flaps left angle. That looks good. I think we'll add the lever, as long as we're in here, let's take a look and see if we can figure out where that lever is. Flap handle, this looks good. Flap handle num positions percent. I think maybe take a look at that one. Okay, so that's 100%. If we pull it up 2/3, 1/3, okay, and that jumps. That does not move smoothly. That just jumps to the next position. All right, so we will use, I think we'll use, maybe we should use percent on both of them just to be consistent, because it looks like then those match up almost. Yeah, let's use. Oh, except they look at that. Even though this is at 2/3 down, the position here is only about half the way down. That's interesting. So we may need to write a function then to find the right Y position on our screen to match up, or we can just not stress over it and just use 1. But I know I said we'd use angle before, but let's use percents. And we'll use, so that that'll make the math a little bit easier, I think. So let's go with that. I think I can be done with MSFS for now, so I'm gonna put that away. So that is our SimVars. We know the SimVars we want are available, so we're not in danger of doing a bunch of coding and then getting into trouble. And we've made a note of what those SimVars are over here, because we'll need those in a little bit. Hardware. We are going to use this LilyGo T-Display S3. This is the exact hardware that you're seeing down here. We've got some good reference data for it. It comes in a touch and a non-touch version. We're using this non-touch version. And so a couple of key things that we're going to note about this. This ST7789, that is the display driver. It's a parallel display driver, and this image is the key image. You might find this, and if we didn't have that, we could follow their link to their GitHub with the examples for this, and we could kind of go backwards. We could read some of the code in here maybe. Let's just grab one here, and we could see, oh, there was a config.h that looked promising. And that might have some pin numbers in it. No, I don't see it. Anyway, we could grab some insights from that, but what I am going to do is, this is a key image right here. It tells me which pins are available. It tells me which pins and what they're doing on the device, and it tells me the resolution, 170 by 320, which we'll need from time to time, and it tells me the display driver. We're going to need that to configure our graphics library. So we've got some good reference here. And the final thing, let's see, when would we do this? So reference data, that's our reference data. In our images, my reference images, I have got what I did previously, since you didn't, so you wouldn't have to suffer through this, is this is actually a screenshot from the sim, which I've now closed. But I just got straight on and I took a nice screenshot of this and I cropped out the little handle that was there. The handle, though, is interesting. The handle, again, I've closed it. Maybe you can rewind it and take a look at the handle. The handle's pretty big. It covers up a lot of space. And since this is a convenience display, I didn't want to deal with that. So what I did was I came over and I like in Inkscape for vector drawing, and I just drew a straight-on view of that handle. And then what I will do out of this is what I will do is I will export this as a PNG because my script to turn this into a header file needs a PNG. So I just draw this, export it, and away we go. Similarly, on this background, I screenshotted it, I cleaned it up a little bit. That was a pretty quick exercise. And then I resized it for my display. As you recall, we said the display was 170 by 320. And so what I did was, I think I made this, how do you check the size of this? Right now I made it, instead of 170 by 320, I made it 130 by 320, which will leave me a nice right-hand gutter to put some of that, the little dot that I will use to indicate where these things go. So I screen cap, clean it up, resize it to the size I want, and we're ready to go. All right, so I've got that as a PNG. I've got the other one as a PNG, and we'll need those in a little bit. So let's get going. Let's start. let's start a new one from the one we did last time. And okay, we got an empty directory here. So what we are going to do is that same. Not that. No, we don't want that. Well, we could, yes. Oh, yeah. So we'll start with a clean one. I just did that because in the past what I've done is started with one that had some demo code already on it. I've already cleaned that out so you don't have to sit through that. But what we want to do is git clone. There it is. That's the command I was looking for. So this, I was using Control R because I knew I'd done this before. But again, we're going to clone Ralph's ESP32 support. Now, since the last demo, Ralph has updated. I pointed out to him, hey, you're not current with the new framework. And so let's, MF community template, let's rename this to CC FlapIndicator. I pointed out that some of the thing hadn't been updated for version 3 of the firmware, or release 3, and he kindly did that immediately. He got those going right now. So we are here, so we can let's do the renaming script, and we'll use the default one here rather than that one I was showing you last time. Remember, the name of your device should be pretty tight, so we'll call this FlapInd for FlapIndicator. And your author name, no spaces, no special characters, and I'm just going to use my initials. And so we will rename it, and looks like we are good. This has changed from template to FlapInd, and we're ready to go. So the other thing I think I will do while we're here is, you know what, let's explore in this directory, which is opening up on my other screen. So here is our, shrink this down. So here we are. I want to bring over a couple of scripts that I like to use. No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted FlapInd. No. did it pop over on another window? Where am I? Why am I lost? Oh, because I haven't started it yet. What I'm going to do is grab a couple of, I'm going to grab a deploy script. This makes moving things, let's copy that rather than moving it. That makes moving things a little bit easier, and I'm going to also put a script directory under here. And these are script. This is a script that I use to convert PNGs to header files for use with my graphics libraries. So we will copy that over as well. I'll show you that in a little bit. All right, so let's see, where were we with our PowerShell? All right, I think we're ready to go. It will be bringing in things. While it's bringing in things, we can get busy here. So I like to start with platform IO with our custom platform IO.ini. We won't be using AI today, although Claude is really good. So let's run through our platform IO.ini. Custom device support is on. Update, I think that on this one, we don't need to do a continuous update. I think what we will do is we will redraw the screen when the values change. So I'm going to leave the update off. Custom firmware has been updated, and Ralph has added some new features here from the last time, but we don't need to change any of that. But what I am going to do is clean everything up here. I'm not using a mega. I'm not using a micro. What I'm zeroing in on these environment headers. We're not using an Uno. We're not using a Nano. We're not using a Raspberry Pi Pico. We are using a 32. So I've got all those highlighted. I was holding Shift and arrow down, and I'm going to delete all those. So the name, this name is too long because it'll be the default name. So we will just call this CC FlapIndicator ESP32. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Exactly. It has to be 16 or less. That will be the default name. Remember, we had to add some of these last time. They're in there now. So we don't have to deal with that. And we're ready to go there. While that has updated, we can kick off a build while we go in and start monkeying with some other things. So the next thing we usually do is go into the community, into the boards. We don't need any of these other boards. So really we should be down just to our ESP32S3, and we are. The device here, I don't like the way it renames the device, so really what we're going to call this is the AVR dude settings that don't really matter because we're not going to flash it. Remember last time we said that we can't flash an ESP32 with AVR dude. So if you're giving this to people, you're going to have to ship it with some other way of uploading the firmware. We're not going to talk about right now firmware. So all this doesn't really matter because we're not going to do it. We're only going to do one device. So I am going to take out all these custom devices, and we will call this C172 FlapIndicator. And what I would normally do is do this as github.com/C Crawford, which is my GitHub base. Really what I should do is make a specific repo for this code, and I will, but I haven't done that yet. So I'm just going to replace all these right now with just a generic, and people could find it from there. Max custom devices. I know that we've only got one screen, so we're only going to allow people to put in one device. We can take some of these other ones out later. Now I know I have glossed over the pins in the past. Let's actually clean these up. So if I go back to my guide right here, I can see that my pin numbers, I've got 1, 2, 3, and then I skip up into 10, 11, 12, 13. So I need to take out 4 through 9. So let's do that. So there, I'm looking at this pin number 1 right here. Pin 1, 2, 3. and then we said take out 4 through 9, delete. Oop, I should have left that comma. Okay, now where were we? Now we're back over here. 4 through 9 are gone, so now we can take 10, 11, 12, 13. We go through 13 and then skip 14 and 15. Skip 14 and 15. And then we're going to take 16, 17, 18. 16, 17, 18. Oh, look at this already. And then 21 is okay. And then only 43 and 44. 18 is okay. And then we want everything between up to 43 and 44. Interesting. So there is no 43 and 44 here. So what we will do is add them. So rather than delete these, we'll make it 43 and 44. And I don't know if those are analog pins or not as well. I guess we could check that. Doesn't look like it, so I'm going to leave those. I'll leave those alone. So there, we took out our extra pins so that somebody can't accidentally assign a pin and screw up our display. That's the key part. All right, board is done. Control S to save. Take a look at our devices. We said that, let's tidy this up so that you can see what's going on a little bit better in the directory. There we go. I like that much better. Let's take a look. We're not going to use a second device. We're only going to use one device. And this always gives a warning. Don't worry about it. I don't like the apostrophe there. So let's just call this FlapInd display. We can leave the author and we could fix this. I don't know why there's, we should probably add a URL feature. I'm not going to use any pins on this. So the pins are assigned in hardware. I don't want the user setting a pin, and that doesn't break things anymore. Now we can do the message types as we go, but as long as we're in here, let's do them. So we will do flap position 0 to 1. And so I'm alt tabbing over here to my SimVar watcher. And so we said that we will use trailing edge. So right click, copy name. And was that % over 100? And then let's use this one for flap lever position. So really this is flap indicator. Flap lever position as % over 100. And I should probably call it handle. And just to make sure that we didn't, let's copy unit. Let's get consistent with our terminology. It'll make our life easier. There we go. And I think those are the only two that we're going to use. So we can delete that last one. Okay, nice. Control S to save. Firmware, we can get rid of these resets because we're not going to use them for those other ones, and we're not going to be able to reset our own. Now, let's get into let's clean up the flap indicator. I like to do it over here so that this will help keep me honest. If I get rid of the pins there, and then I know that I don't want my flap indicator here. This is our custom device header, not MF custom device .h, but our actual flap indicator. So this will keep me honest by changing the method signatures, and then I can go over it while I'm in here. And let's get this cleaned up first, and then we will go back. So I know here then, let's go, okay, so now we're in that was our header file that we just edited. Now let's do the actual code. So we'll take out those. We undefined those pins, so they're gone. We change the method signature here. Pin 3 is gone. We don't mess with detach. We won't. We'll do this later, and that's it. Now this MobiFlight custom device, this is where the actual code we won't mess with this header because the regular MobiFlight firmware that is under here is expecting this. So we're never going to change this, but we are going to change, we won't change the signatures here, but we will change the contents. So, you know, I said don't edit it, but I'm going to edit it right here. I'm going to take out the custom device too. Now let's go, and that'll help highlight any changes that we need to make. So here we are going to take out custom device 2. And in this custom device, so we're now in the attach that the base firmware is going to call. We will leave this fit in memory check, but we're not going to get a configuration string for this. So we can cut out all of that. But we do need to call the constructor. That's what we edited before. Take out those pins and take out the arguments for that attach. And that should be good. This will clear up in a second. We can take out this custom device too. So I'm grabbing this else if clause. And again, shift arrow down to scroll to find the end of that. And there it is right there. So delete. And so now we've tightened that up. We can also take out this clause for the custom device too. And this clause for, like before, if you want to leave all these pins and this second device in, you can. It won't affect your functionality at all. I'm just tidying things up since I'm going to check this code in for you. So we should be good there. Before we compile, again, well, let's kick off another compile to make sure that we didn't screw anything up. While we're doing that, while that compile is going, we're going to use, there are a lot of different graphics libraries. And the way you add a library, an external library using Platform.io is alien head libraries. Okay, we had successful compile, so we didn't screw up anything there. And the one I think we'll use today is Bodmer's TFT ESPI. And you see this, you know it's the right one because there's 250,000 downloads of it. Lately I've been using the Lovian GFX library instead. Bodmer hasn't updated this one in about a year, but since our hardware is older, or a couple of years old, we'll be fine using it. Bodmer's, this library has a lot of example code and a lot of online documentation as well. There are a few differences between this and the Lovian GFX library, but today we're going to use this. So I found that library, I click on the name of it. Now you could add it to the project with this, but instead what I usually like to do is I click this installation tab and I'm going to grab this string right here. You could grab either one of these three. The comments will explain what's going on. Highlight that, Control C, and let's go to our platformio.ini. And then up here at the top, because I would want to do it for everything, I've got my libdeps here. and I'm going to paste that in. And we got to tab that over. So now we've got a library dependency added here, and it is this TFT ESPI library. So now when I compile, now when I build, it will resolve these unused dependencies that it just found, and you see here it's grabbing Bodmer's library off of GitHub, I would assume, or maybe it is a Platform.io library cache. I don't know. But it grabbed that and it brought it into our project. The thing that's so much better about this is now that library is really associated just with this project, not with my machine or my environment. It is included here in my library. So if I come up here to the PIO directory and underneath the libdeps, and underneath, I don't know why that's there, but underneath my particular environment, this CC FlapIndicator ESP32, we're going to see all the libraries that got brought in, and one of them should be TFT ESPI. It's right here. Now, one of the things that is kind of goofy about TFT ESPI, normally you wouldn't edit anything under this PIO folder. But the way this TFT ESPI is configured is by editing this user setup file header right in here. So again, we're in .pio, libdeps, and then for the environment we're doing CC FlapIndicator ESP32S3, which was right here, this environment. And then we found the library, TFT ESPI, expanded that, and it has a couple header files, but the one that you want is this user setup.h. Now the way this works is there are dozens of libraries in here that allow you to configure the different settings. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to select a user setup here. And what we will do is take a look. Let's find our display in this list. If it's not in here, we're going to have to manually set it up. But this is a pretty popular board, so I'm optimistic. So it is a T display. ESP T display. That's the right chip. Let's see, but I see that there's 3 other ones down here. That's for an RP2040. That's not us. This is looking, here we go. This is exactly it. LilyGo T-Display S3 for the ST7789 170 by 320. And if we confirm over here, ST7789 170 by 320, that's the name. So I'm really confident that that's the right one. If it's not, we can get some messy crashes. We need to go up here and we have to comment out this line. This is a manual setup line. And so really there should only be one that is uncommented in this whole list. So let's save that. Right now, I don't think our workspace, we're getting a warning or an error here. I think that'll go away when we rebuild. Another thing that can help it too is if we save our workspace. And so I'm going to save my workspace here. I don't want to save it there. I want to save it here. That excuse me. Saving that workspace often forces that to reload. This happens to me a lot, and there's a fix for that. I can never remember what it is. All right, it is updating. The other thing that can then help that go away is just restarting VS Code as well. All right, let's do a build and see if make sure that we're not getting any errors. I noticed that the last one completed without errors. And while that's going on, we can start going to where most of our code is really going to happen, this FlapIndicator.h and CPP. I'm going to close out some files so that we don't start editing the wrong things. I think I'm done with my platform and MobiFlight custom device. So I said CPP, and we don't need that. This is just my personal preference. I like that, and I like to pin this to the left so I know where it is. We had a successful build. So now let's start adding a couple of variables here. We want variables for that flap handle. So let's see, we wanted it's a float, and we will use flap handle %, and let's just give it an initial value to 20%. And flap indicator %, and we'll put that at 40% just to get it out of the way. Really, those should be 0, 0, but for testing, I like to actually give them values. It's just a kind of just a smoke test. Okay, so we've got variables to hold those. I think that we will also use a draw function. So I'm going to add that. Oh, did you know this one? Alt arrow moves lines around. But let's start with begin. I like to, it's not the greatest coding practice, but we need to include, and I should probably put that over here. You know what? I'm going to leave it here. Let's include tft espi.h. If you haven't built it, you might get a squiggly there if you haven't built it since you included the library, but it came in just fine, so that's a really good indication. And now we will, let's create one, tft espi, dang it. And we'll call this is representing our screen, equals tft, we'll just do a default constructor on this. And then when we set it up, we will do a tft.init, tft.rotate, set rotation? Set rotation. Yeah, set the display image orientation. You know what? I'm not sure what it is. We'll see what it is. Well, let's just start with the 0, but I know we're going to have to rotate it because I think the default is horizontal. So let's guess. Let's guess that it's a 1. And now I like to make sure that this is working. So TFT, let's do fill screen with blue. You'll see these TFT color names. And let's do TFT draw string hello demo. And we will put that at 0, 0. I'm watching these. So actually, rather than 0, let's put it at 10, 10. Those are pixels, X and Y, and it's 170 by 320. So that should put it in the upper left corner. And I think let's make sure our screen is working. So we will watch. Let me make sure that I've got you while that's compiling. Let's make sure I'm not over. Yeah, there we go. Can we see our, get the reflection off of that. I see a couple warnings going by, but we won't worry about those quite yet. Ooh, look at this, and it's uploading. And nada. All right. So why not? Could be a number of things. It could be that we didn't turn on the backlight. It could be that, it could be that this isn't actually running. You know what? One of the reasons, I've done this before. One of the reasons it's not running is because none of this code is running because there is no device configured. So since there's no device configured here, it isn't, there's no begin getting called. There's no constructor getting called. There's nothing getting called. So it compiled and it uploaded, but this code is sitting idle. So now what we need to do is copy our stuff over to MobiFlight and configure a device there. We could configure a device from well, we could configure a device down here. So let's do a quick test. Okay, so I did a 7 semicolon, and I see that, yep, MobiFlight, we're not at least crashing here, we're running. But if I do a device and we see that, okay, we have uploaded the CC flap indicator, and it's there with a friendly name, and we see our versions. And that was a 9, by the way, 9 semicolon, and 11 semicolon crashes. That's what a core dump looks like. And it has a backtrace. I haven't added that magic line that would decode that backtrace, but I am guessing it went after some data that wasn't there because there is no configuration uploaded. I'm hoping that's going to go. I don't feel like debugging that right now because I know that one reason it's not working is because we haven't configured the device. So in order to configure the device, we need to do it in MobiFlight, and let's just quick start that so you can see. But what I would expect, I've got a couple other MobiFlight devices plugged in right now. I've got my G5s. You know what? I should probably turn those off just so that we don't accidentally upload some code to them. So what we see now is we've got, we're running on COM10. I know that all this is on auto. I just know that this thing's COM10. Right now it says, yeah, it's compatible, but there's nothing done there. That's because we haven't told MobiFlight about our device. So if we go to the community, here's our community folder. It is in users local app data or app data local MobiFlight connector community. We don't have that indicator in here yet. So what we need to do is copy that over. Now what we could do is we could either grab that zip folder if that was built under our dist. We should have this zip. We could open that up. We could copy things over, or this is where my deploy script comes in. Let's give it a try. Let's see if it's working. So I use this to open up a terminal. So we are in, and we have my deploy script that I copied over, and you should be able to get out of the GitHub repo. So let's do a Python deploy. And it told me what it just did. It copied the contents. It also copied some hex files, or the binary files, but I don't care. We're not going to use those. But it did copy some stuff over. So let's take a look, and there it is, CC FlapInd. That's a new one. And if we look, we see boards, and we see a board with about the right time. Yeah, we saved that about 20 minutes ago. And a device with about the right time. So now I'm optimistic that when I start MobiFlight, that it will, please, didn't find it. I was confident there that 10 would show up. There's a number of reasons why it might not have. It could. Did we leave a serial port running? We did. This will do it too. So since this still had the serial port open, we need to kill this. So I close the serial port. Now, when I run MobiFlight, awesome. We got the green check mark, and we see the flap indicator. There's no devices added to it, but it's here, and here's that shortened up name that we had. Let's add a device, custom device, and there it is, FlapInd display. So we add that, no pins. We took out all the pins. We can just leave the default name. This always goes caution. Let's upload it. And often this also shows as a failure, as an error. Ignore it. You can right click, reload config, and everything looks good. And as you see down here, maybe you noticed when we did that, we've got it, and we've got the hello world. My rotation isn't what I expect, so we can try that on our next build, but now we've got a blue screen with hello world on it, or a hello demo on it. know what, let me, let's see, let's turn off that light so that you get a little bit, it's better. Okay. Cool. All right, our screen's working. So we don't forget about it, let's close this up because we'll need it. If that's open and you try to upload, the upload will fail and you got to recompile and upload. But let's get into it. Let's go back here. So this was working so far. Since we know that that's there, we can take this out. Now, let's add a background image. Oh, we got to make our image first. All right. I'm sure this one will take a, let's go down into our scripts directory. Okay, and I'm going to add a new folder under here called images. Could call it header or whatever. I get lazy and I often put the images, and let's reveal that in File Explorer. So we're here. Let me find those images that I made before. So there's one here, and let's save this as, let's see, where are we? We are under Source, MobiFlight, FlapIndicator, FlapIndicator, Images, background.png. We'll save that there. Take the defaults, and then over in Inkscape, my Inkscape window still open? It's there. Let's save this as I dislike this file dialog, but let's try this. We'll do users, Chris, source, MF, CC, FlapIndicator, images, FlapInd, images, there it is. And this one will be, we'll call this lever, and we want to save that as a PNG. All right, so now we should have lever and PNG. I'll tell you what, let's get a little bit consistent here, and we'll call it background and lever. Now, so we've saved the PNGs there. Now in this script, I've got the convert with the double R. That's how I always know it's the right one. And so what I'm going to do is Python. This is a Python script that I wrote to convert these images. Convert, and you can see I use this a lot. Convert, and what I want to do is I want to convert, and it is up one directory, and it is in images, and it is background.png, and we want to put that into, we'll just use the same directory, images, background.h. And if that worked in my images directory, we now have background.h, and you can see it's here. That script creates a couple of constants, and it uses some image processing libraries to turn that image into a 16-bit. I've got in 565 with the bytes reversed, which is what this library expects. So that's what this swap bytes, and in the format of RGB 565. I've got other ones for 323 and 1-bit, but the modern libraries can use this 565 even if I reduce the bit count. So let's do this one again, but this time we will do it for the, did we call it lever again? I keep calling it lever, and it's really handle. So whatever. You know what? Rather than mess that up, F2, let's call it handle. Then we'll come down here, handle.png, and we'll put that into images handle.h. Looks good. And now we've got a handle.h, and it looks good. Now, back to, let's include those. Images, background.h, and handle.h. Now, what we want to do is TFT push image. Yep, push image. Oh, we've already set the size. Did we set the size? Do we need to? I don't think so. Push image, and we will push it at 0, 0. And it is background image width, background image height, and it uses background image data. That could be another good place to test. Let's see, what else should we do now? Let's just see if that's working, since that was a big one. We'll re-upload. I should fill the screen. We should fill the screen with black. Compiled well. Let's see if we see our image here. Oh, and we were going to mess with this rotation too. Let's try 2. There it is, but clearly the rotation's wrong. So let's try maybe rotation 2 is the one that we want. But while we're in here, let's change a few more things. We were going to do 2 messages, 0 and 1. And so 0, what we said was the device. 0 was the flap indicator position. Let's see, so what we can do is split right to keep that visible. And what we want is, so the message ID 0 is a flap indicator position. So let's get rid of that. And what we'll say is flap indicator percentage equals A2F. It's a float coming in that we want, and it is set point. We got that from here, set point. So when message ID 0 comes in, flap indicator percent, we'll do the set point. Oh, and we want to do a draw then. And then similarly, when this one comes in, we want, that's going to be flap handle percentage. And we'll do a draw. We will redraw the screen. Now we need to write that draw function. I usually put update at the very end. I don't know why. So what we want to do is, that was going to be a void for the flap indicator class draw. Takes no arguments. Remember, we declared it here, so that's why we got that nice little autocomplete. And we remembered to add the class in front of this. If we hadn't done the class, it would have been a global function, and it wouldn't have had access to these variables. So we want the draw function, and so what we're going to do is, I think we could, since we drew it over on the left side, we can just fill a circle on the right side, but we're going to have to blank out the old circle that we're going to draw. So we'll just try it real quick. We'll do fill circle, TFT fill circle. There's draw circle, which draws a hollow one, and fill circle, which draws a filled one. And we want to put that at X, and let's see, we are going to put that, we said that this was a 170 wide. So, and we said, I think that background display was 130. Yep. So that means we got 40 pixels to deal with on the right hand side. So let's put it 20. So we'll do it background image width plus 20. So really it should be, if we want to get serious here, it would really be, what I'm really saying is this should be TFT width minus background image width divided by 2. And let's put some parentheses, order of operation. So take the width minus the background width, cut that in half, and I want a circle centered on that in the X direction. And on the Y direction we're going to have to calculate. So we will say that that is the flap indicator percent times the height of this, but we probably want it down. We'll just do it flap indicator percent. And so we have background, we have the TFT height, and we'll do a buffer at the top and bottom, minus 40 plus 20. So let's just do plus 20. So we'll do it flap indicator. Yeah, so this, we want the height minus 40 for some buffer at the top and the bottom. I just made that up. Times that, but then we want to do that. So we want the height less 40 times the flap indicator percent, and then just move it down a scooch, so it's not off the top. Oh, and we're drawing a circle, so we need the radius of the circle. It was 40 wide, so maybe we make it 15 radius, so it'll be 30 wide. And let's do TFT red for the color of the dot. All right. Good? Good. So that's going to draw it. All right. Let's build it. Take a breather. Let's think about the next things we got to do. We've got to draw that flap. We got to build that flap handle. We're going to need a sprite for that. We'll talk about sprites here in a second. Hey, look at that. Okay. But we haven't called this draw yet. There's, so now we've got this going the right way. Or either that or it's upside down. So before we forget, well, let's try set rotation 4. Was that one of our options? A 0, 1, 2, or 3. What was it? And we just had a 2. And 1 was the other way, 3 was the other way, 0 wasn't right. Or maybe 0, was 0 right? No. Whatever. I'm going to leave it like that for now. We haven't tried 3 yet, have we? Let's try 3. We haven't called draw yet. Because draw only gets called when we change the value on a set. So let's, rather than firing up MobiFlight again, let's just do it from here. Oops, I wanted a serial port, not a terminal. Let's do a quick 7. So yep, we're there. So I'm typing 32, 0, 0, 0.5 semicolon. Hey, there it is. Okay, and it's on the wrong side. So maybe my real smart, I took width plus this, divided by 2 plus background width. So I'll tell you what, let's just do background width. Rather than getting fancy here, I am just going to do background width plus 20. And so yeah. Oh, but on the plus side, it looks like it's about 50% of the way down. So nice. So we got that right. I don't know how the brightness is working for you guys on this. Maybe a little bit too bright, but you get the idea. So let's so we got that on the correct side. We're going to try flipping the screen around. Let's start, while that's retesting, let's start working on the handle. The handle I'm going to need to do, I'm going to want to overlay it. And so I could just push the image onto it, But oh, so let's build that handle. Do we have a command line? No, that one's gone. Here's that same command line. Oh, we already did it. We've got a handle.h. Okay, so I'm going to do this one as a sprite. So sprites allow you to move images a little more easily and quickly rather than pushing the image directly on. Gosh darn it. So it's not 3. Is it really 4? It's not 1. It's not 2. It's not 3. But it says it can only be those. I thought 0 gave us... Sprites allow us to push things to the screen a little more quickly. We can push them rotated, we can push them into different places, we can do them with transparent backgrounds, and we can do them in a flicker-free manner because we can construct a whole picture off screen, and we can do the whole thing off screen. There we go. And then push it all in one thing, which helps with flicker. Because if we look at this, one of the things, this is, oh, my monitor's going. Because if I do 32, 0, 0, 0.5, there we go. We've got the dot showing up. Now let's try 32, 0, 0, 0.7. And we got 2 dots. We need to erase the old dot. So what we're going to need to do is TFT, but we don't want to erase the whole screen because we need to erase our background. So what we need to do is TFT.fill rectangle. And we want to do that from background image width. At the top. And we want it to be background image width minus, and we know that's 40. We could do the calculation there. And we want the height to be the entire TFT. So let's do TFT.height. We could look it up and type in the constant, but that's a lazy way of doing it. And we want the color to be black. So now we're going to draw it and fill the circle. Let's do a quick upload of that. And then I think it might be time to do a quick test back in the sim again. But I'll tell you what, rather than do that, rather than wait for the sim to start up, boy, we're already an hour in. Rather than wait for the sim to start up, I'm going to tell you what I know is going to happen, and that is this is going to flicker. It's going to flicker because we're going to draw it black, and then we're going to draw the circle. And since that's happening in 2 steps, there's actually a microsecond or millisecond or 2 or 3 in here where it is black, and then you draw the circle, and so the circle will flicker because it's on, and it's off, and then it's on. So really what we want to do is create some sprites and fill that in. Let's do that. We'll do it the right way with let's create a sprite. TFT eSprite? Is it really eSprite? I guess it is. eSprite. And we'll call this one yeah, we'll call this one handle sprite. And then down here in our begin, let's set up that sprite. And we want to create sprite, and the width will be the handle image width and the handle image height. And then we want to push an image into it, add 0, 0, handle image width, handle image height, handle image data. So now we've created a sprite, we've pushed the image into it, and it takes up the whole space, so we're good to go. Now we can in our draw method handle sprite dot push sprite. And what we will do, we're going to push this straight to the TFT. So handle image push sprite, and we are going to push that at, let's see, how wide was that thing? It is 122 wide out of 170, so that's about 50, 48. Let's do it. We'll push it right in the middle. So we'll push it over 24, X24. Y, again, we want to do a similar calculation here. So we want to do, I'll tell you what, I think I'm just going to use the same calculation. We should probably break this out into a function in case we want to change it later. Yeah, I should really make that a function in case we want to tune it, but we're already getting along here. So handle, flap handle percent times the height minus 40, and then we kicked it down 20, right? Did I miss that plus 20 at the end? I did. Okay, so we're going to push that sprite x equals 24, so part of the way over, down a y that is based on that handle percent. And we can add a transparent color as well, because it'll paste that whole rectangle. If you remember this, it's got a white background. We see it down here, background color was set to be, let's make sure it's really white. Oh, it popped up in another screen. Background image is white. So to make that background really transparent, so it's not a white overlay, we'll tell it it has a white background, and then it'll draw. That's one of the nice things you can do with an image. Why am I getting an error here? I'm missing a paren. There we go. And am I okay there? Expected a semicolon. Oh, there was that missing paren. I'm working on a smaller screen than usual. Let's close that up. Nuts. Candidate expects one argument. So I think I've got to give a parent for this. Oh, shoot. I never made it. We'll tell it that the TFT, is that right? There we go. I fixed it. Uploading. Let's take a look. We won't see the handle right away because it's only in the draw function. You know what I should really do is we should do a draw at the end of this. But let's do it. Let's do a quick draw right here by doing a 32, 0, 0, 0.5. Hey, there's our handle. And we changed the 0.5 on the dot, but we didn't change that handle. I think it's time to fire up MobiFlight and Flight Simulator. Let's get that going. So I've started Flight Simulator in another window over here, and we can fire up MobiFlight. We can also test over here, maybe a little bit easier, and we can get our MobiFlight. Let's get our MobiFlight config going because we only use MobiFlight to upload this. So let's do this. We want FlapIndicator %. You can do it, MobiFlight. Come on, there it is. And flap trailing edge left %, right? Yep, that's it. Trailing edge left. And the display we're going to use. Oh, dang it. I left. I bet you I left. I left it running. Son of a gun. I hate when I do that. And I think, can I just restart this and will it? Where's the reboot? There it is. Maybe if I restart this, I won't have to restart MobiFlight. Nah, see, it sees it. I thought I could unplug, replug. We just had a discussion about this, but it doesn't show up. But it does show up. Let's save that, yes. And restart MobiFlight. There we go. It's connected. Display. Output device. FlapIndicator. Use custom device. And flap. We want that. Is right. And FlapIndicator position as %. Yep. Is trailing edge left. There we go. So we're good. Let's add the flap handle %. Flap handle %. There it is. % over 100. Looks good. Display. The custom device. Only one device. And we want the handle position as %. Looks good. MSFS is finally started. We'll fly out of my favorite, KDPA. It's my local airport. We can just go on the apron here. And as long as that's running and we've got this down here, we could start doing a few little tests. We could try 0.8 and start testing. There we go. 0.8, 0.5, and ooh, look, it disappeared now, which is nice. 0.2. Ooh, 0.2. That looks good. 0.0. 1 point. What happens if we go out of bounds? 4. It's off the screen, but you know what? We could put some error checking in there, but at least it didn't crash. What happens if we do a negative? It's off the screen, but at least it didn't crash. So let's do 0. Okay, so those are going, and it sounds like, oh, are you kidding me? I think Flight Sim just crashed. So rather than make you wait for that startup again, let me pause. And we're back. It did start the second time. So let's see. Oh, look at this. And we will run. Oop, look at that. We got a problem. I forgot to clear out something before the handle. But as long as we're here, let's do some tests. We need battery here to run the flaps. And let's put some flaps in. Well, that's frustrating. So we've got some errors. We got a couple bugs here. So first of all, let's make sure that we're updating things. Get out of the way, please. Why isn't our flap indicator percent isn't changing? Did we screw something up here? We must have. We must not have saved that. Flap trailing edge left percent. Maybe you guys saw it when I screwed that up, but let's try that. Okay, there we go. Now let's try some. We are still running, and I'm using buttons off screen to change it. Oh, look at that. It is drawing nicely. Although our flap handle is not being cleared out because we were going to have to redraw that background. All right, we're going to have to think about that. We can leave Flight Sim running. Sometimes it makes my compiles a little slow, so that's usually why I don't leave it running nonstop. So what we're going to have to do now is just some methods around. We're going to have to create another sprite. If we just redraw the background, let's show you that real quick. We'll just do that as one last thing, and then maybe I'll go away and add some things and then narrate what I did. So what we're going to have to do is take this code and put that into our draw function. We're going to have to clear out the screen, and then we're going to have to re-push that image onto there. And then we can, so theoretically we won't need that fill rectangle anymore since we just filled the whole screen with black. We were doing that rectangle to avoid overwriting this image before. But now if we fill the whole screen with that black, we push the image, we fill the circle, and we push the handle sprite, that should do it. So I have a feeling this is going to introduce some bad flicker as these things happen. But let's check it out. We might get lucky. This might be fast enough. These images might be simple enough. Otherwise, what we're going to have to do is create a sprite, do all those pushes, pushing the image, pushing the dot to the screen off, and then push the whole sprite. Here, let me see if we can get that better for you. And then push the whole thing to the screen to avoid the flicker. Nuts. What did I screw up here? Oh, I left MobiFlight running. So it compiled fine, but it wouldn't update. Let's save MobiFlight. Let's close MobiFlight. I think I warned you about this before. It's a common problem. It was an error with the upload because the serial port was busy, not a compilation error. But I think that there's a way to do a command that is just an upload, but I swear I haven't found it yet. If you know it, put it in the comments if you're still listening to me at all. But here we go. Now we're uploading. All right, it's running. Let's start MobiFlight again. Now we can restart MobiFlight. And we can run. Let's go back over here. Ooh, yeah, see that flicker? Nasty. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, I guess you can see that, or I hope you can see it on the video. Oh, and my flap handle didn't draw. Why didn't my flap handle percent draw? Oh, it is. It's at the way bottom. Did I screw something up with that? Or maybe I just, let's see. Yeah, it was just too low. So I need, you see that nasty flicker? That is because what we are doing here is we're filling it with black. We're pushing the image, which takes a hot second. Then we're doing the circle. Then we're doing the sprite. And then we're doing it all again. So it doesn't flicker now, but it flickers in the movement. In order to fix this, what I'm going to need to do is not draw directly to the screen, but draw to a sprite and push that in. Since that's a lot, it's some typing. I'm I think I'm going to pause because we're already almost at an hour and a half, and I think I'll do that and come back and explain it. Okay, and we're back. I saved you a couple compiles there, but let me explain what I just did. I created a new sprite called background sprite, and I made that underneath the screen. I also moved the handle sprite to be a child of the background sprite. So what we are doing is now we've got a background that is really the entire screen. So here I created a sprite that is the entire screen. We've got enough memory to do this because the screen is small. If you had a 480 by 480 screen, you would not have enough memory to do that. You have a couple options then. You can either use a smaller sprite if you don't need the entire screen, and just be careful. The other thing you can do is I could have done like background sprite.set color depth, and I could have set that to a lower depth. Right now it's 16-bit. I could cut that down to 8. If you have to do that, that'll cut the memory it needs in half. I would need to do that for all of them, and that might make this image look a little goofy, but it would work. I find that Lovian GFX, another library that is very similar to this one, does a better job if that's what you need to do. But then we still have the same handle, still creating this handle sprite the same way as before, but it's now, like I said, now it's a child of the background sprite. And I got rid of some of the other stuff and put it all in the draw. Now down here in the draw, we clear the sprite, we push the image that we used to be pushing just straight to the TFT. Now we push that image into the background sprite. We draw the circle on the background sprite. And all this is happening in memory now, not on the screen. And then I push that handle sprite that is just the image of this handle. I use the push to sprite function to push that into the background sprite at a position at the Y with the transparent color so that you can see through the corners of that handle. And then I push that background sprite, and this just pushes it to the screen. And so now when I still have things running in the background. We still have MobiFlight here. Oops, sorry about that. Now when we move our flap handle, it moves a little more smoothly. Again, sorry for the brightness here. It goes a little bit too far, so we could adjust some of those parameters on the percentages, but that's some fine tuning that I don't think is relevant right now. But that's it. From here, we would check all this into a source code control. We'd create a new repository and check that in, and then we'd push it all to GitHub, and then we would go talk about our custom project over on the MobiFlight Discord and show everybody what we just did, and hopefully somebody else would say, "Oh, that's just what I needed for this project. Can I have your code?" And we'd point them right at the GitHub repo. But I know this was a long one. This was the culmination of the series. The other things we could talk about would be getting more into depth with some of these libraries. We could get more into depth with font selection and usage and creation of those. We could talk more about the scripts. But really, I think I'm kind of done with the series, unless you have questions, in which case I'm happy to answer them in the comments below on the MobiFlight Discord, or by creating a bonus video here. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me. This was a long one. I hope it was helpful. I hope you're able to reproduce and do this at home. Have a good one, and thanks for watching.